Oh, sorry. All right, let me try that one more time. It's all right. We got a guy learning here. James Scores is behind the glass. I'm Big Al.
And I'm Joe
And
Shear.
there it is, guys. We have plenty of sports to talk to you. Joe, it's been a little while since we've been here together in studio. We were doing a lot of work on the other stuff because we had a World Series run that unfortunately did not end the way we would hope. And we were going to get into that a little bit because I haven't had your reaction. I mean, we've talked on the phone, we've talked on messages, we've talked through other shows we've done together, but we haven't had this one-on-one and had time to heal together as friends, as colleagues. But the Phillies we will cover the Eagles, and also tonight we'll have Austin Krell from the Painted Lines, NBA reporter, who will be talking Sixers with us because me and Joe felt we need a refresher because we really just let the Sixers.
Yeah, we like would sparingly like send like a Sixers text between some in the group, and I remember texting one day like I am so not Sixered up right now. Like there was just so much going on.
Oh,
I mean,
no, absolutely.
Eagles 7, then 8-0, and of course the Cinderella story of the Phillies.
Well, here's the thing: is I think the people who love the fact that the Eagles were overshadowing. I mean, the Phillies were overshadowing the Sixers were the Sixers. Because the Sixers have not been doing well right now, and they're struggling. They're out of the gate. They're under 500 right now, and they are 10th in the East. I know it's only early into the season, but we're going to talk to Austin about that. Joe, I want to talk Phillies with you for the moment.
Hey, man.
And like I said, Austin should be calling in about the next 10 minutes. We'll jump back to Phillies a little bit later. Because the one thing about going late into the season, hot stove starts pretty.
Absolutely,
man.
Man.
We be sitting there at the end of September or early October waiting a whole month and a half to really talk about what's going to happen with the future of this team. But we're already there now. So, but right now, your thoughts right now. I know a lot of people put a lot of blame on the moving of Zach Wheeler out early. And where are you at in that thought process? Were you upset with Topper?
No, I'll be honest with you. And I've almost posted my thoughts about the World Series overall, the ending of the season without the parade down Broad Street, and yeah, just something like Topper making that move with Wheeler. I haven't been able to bring myself to talk about it. Like my wife is like, really, like you're really taking it this hard. I'm like, I feel like I was broken up with. Like even though this is something that like maybe we shouldn't have been expecting, going into the playoffs, or maybe not even maybe not even making the playoffs in general. But like I was riding such a high, and this team means everything to me. And like that Sunday or the Sunday after, me and my wife went out for some drinks right down the street from us, and I'm looking up at a Jim Beam bottle that had a Phillies logo on it. And every time I looked at it, like I had this like sadness come over me. Then I started drinking that Jim Beam, and it became a lot better that day.
Well, I sat there and thought the same way, and I'm like, is this what our family, our parents, our uncles, and all it felt like in 1993 at the end of it all? Like
I didn't feel this way after 09. It may well be because we won the World Series a year before that, and you and I were there, and we were in our our mid-20s when all that was happening. So that was that was just life at that point for us. But I'm to the point where I don't want to say I'm over it, but I'm okay talking about it now. I mean, they lost in Game 6 against a clearly better team. I was really thinking they were going to win after that Game 3, where they just matched them, in the first home game. And now here we are, now here we are. It's the off season already. We're inching our way to Thanksgiving. The winter meetings are going to start getting going, and we already have these buzzes around the team saying that Trey Turner wants to come to Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's we've all talked about it. I've mentioned this plenty on the show. I say Trey Turner will be a Philly next year. Now the buzz is Trey Turner wants to be a Philly next year. And listen, here's the thing: is I don't like taking moral victories or anything like that, but I guess the difference with me is I'm not as upset. I'm more sad, like you are saying, more than angry. Or one of
I wasn't angry. Yeah. I was just I felt like something was taken from me.
Yeah, that's a good point to it, a good way of explaining it. I mean, the difference, you said it earlier, was the age. I mean, we were in our mid to late 20s. We were going to games with buddies, girlfriends. We were doing that. Now we got to go with kids and family and the wife and all that stuff, which is a little bit of a different thing. Like it's nice that I was able to have my young kids. I couldn't imagine 7 or 8 years old being at an NLCS game.
Right? Yeah.
So the memories were there. So I have that to thank for him. But I also have the prize is now next year we're going to be a destination of sorts. I mean, they have what $67 million right now.
75 million.
Is it 75 now? So like, and doesn't mean they can't move anybody else either.
Sure.
I mean, I doubt they're going to be moving a Nick Castellanos or Schwarber or anybody. But you can still move guys.
Schwarber. He was the NL king of it. I'm sorry, he was the home run king of the NL.
Like
he ain't going anywhere.
Moving large contracts.
Right.
I know everybody. Here's my thing: is that the other thing I find it a little funny is I'm not as mad at Nick Castellanos as everybody else is. I mean, I would have loved to seen a better play from him. I think everybody else would have that. I don't know, like, if I'm giving him a mulligan or something, because I don't think that's real Nick stats.
Right.
You know, I agree. I think he'll be a lot better. I'm not using the excuse that he came in late. You know, everybody else did too.
It means nothing. He's a veteran.
I just think, you know, there's a lot of turmoil going on, and when you're struggling and there's turmoil within the team, especially the first few months of the season, it's hard to get things together. I think he will have a bounce back year, and I think he will be one of the better players in this, you know, cold season for what he was. I mean, he had his moments, but overall will be.
He played some pretty good field. I don't care what anyone says. Like, I was going back and forth with somebody today on social media. We were talking about the kid out in what the hell is his name? Yoshida. He wants to come, and his idol is Bryce Harper. I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but everyone was saying, well, he's a defensive liability. Well, wasn't this entire team a defensive liability that everyone was like? Nick Castellanos played a pretty good right field. Kyle Schwarber played a pretty good left field. Like, I have no qualms about their fielding this year. The only one who I have, and I'm public enemy number one on this when it came to me saying back off of Rhys Hoskins. He's a Philly. Let him be a Philly for life. I have done such a 180 just because, and listen, his bat was one of the main reasons why we made it so far in this playoffs. But I can firmly say this and 100% believe it, that his defensive liability is what cost us the World Series. Two very, very costly plays is what cost us the World Series. I firmly believe that. I don't want to pile on him, but I honestly don't think he's going to be here next season.
And I just think the experiment's over. It's not like this was his first year.
Of course.
Or his second
year. He's
not
Alec Boehm, who was not a very good third baseman, got a lot better throughout the season. We've seen the improvement. We saw him step up time after time in that World Series with his defense on the hot corner. We did not see that from Bryce Harper.
He had that
and Gene Segura, who we thought, you know, was a really good solid fielder, I should say. Maybe not really good, but a solid fielder. He's already been declined. He's already gone. So, I mean, they already took one step, and now Rhys is the next.
What's up, Pat? Pat showing us chiming in tonight.
What up, dude?
Here's my thing is, like, Rhys, it's just there's moments that could have bit us more in the ass throughout the NLDS and the NLCS. And it's not just a defensive liability. It's then, like you said, there's moments where his bat came, and there was moments where his bat didn't show up at all.
Right, absolutely.
So it's like, okay, if you were a consistent hitter and you can bash your way out of problems, like Gene Segura, he had a bad defensive play in the World Series. Then he came out and had a clutch hit.
Yeah.
He scored us a
He's a contact hitter, though.
Yeah.
Rhys Hoskins is boom or bust.
Well, the problem is and that's
he doesn't hit singles.
We had too much of that, unfortunately. And our bats got cold. You know, at the worst time for most guys. And it wasn't just Rhys at that time. It was Nick. It was,
of course,
Kyle and Harper were the only ones who were, and I guess Alec Boehm were the only ones who were, I would say, consistent. I mean, Gene Segura he went out on a 1 for 22 or something like that. He's no longer with us.
JT lost his bat a little bit. He had some key hits, but I mean that 2-3 of Rhys Hoskins and JT. I mean, it left a lot of men on base.
And that's the other thing is, you know, people said Topper was so quick to pull Wheeler.
Oh, yeah.
Not quick to move things around.
Let me get on that as well. I 137,000% agree with Topper for taking Wheeler out of that game. There's no doubt in my mind that he did the right thing. There was worries about Wheeler even starting that game 6. So when you're getting into a pivotal part in the game where there's first and third, Wheeler looks like he's about to lose it. There's already concern about his arm, even though he was pitching lights out. I absolutely agree. But how many times have we seen Aaron Nola pitch lights out, and then it takes that one bat or one bat or two hits where he just loses it all? And that absolutely could have happened with Wheeler, taking him out for I think it was Alvarado. Don't quote me on that. But taking him out was absolutely the right.
Alvarado was the one who led up the big
Right. Oh, that's right. Because
Alvarez.
because he had to come back in and pitch from the stretch, much like he did when he had to come in relief of Aaron Nola. It could have been the same scenario. Topper was 100% right, taking Wheeler out of the game right there. I know everyone's posts are saying, "Oh, X amount of pitches. How can you take him out? He was dealing." Well, the game could have gotten a lot more out of reach at that point.
Listen, right now, like you're saying, that it could have been a lose-lose situation.
Right. Yeah, he came in, they gave up the home run to Alvarez. That's right.
He gives up the home run, or he leaves Wheeler, and maybe Wheeler does. But
right, exactly.
Hindsight's 20/20 in this situation.
Now, what happens if Topper leaves him and Alvarez hits the first ball out? 3-1. I mean, then is Topper an asshole for not taking him out?
At this point, if you had a DeLorean, you would still go back in time and tell Topper to leave him in because
I wouldn't.
You know how this goes.
I wouldn't.
Well, you have to. I mean, you know how this plays out at this point.
But hold on. Why can we say that we have full trust in Topper and every decision he's made throughout the entire playoffs, that everyone's like, oh, he made the right decision there, made the right decision there. But this one time, and I understand it's the World Series, I understand it's Game 6 on the road, but this one time, everyone's saying, oh, no, he's not shit. Why'd they give him a 2-year extension? He doesn't know how to manage. That's the immaturity of a Skip. No, save it because it's silly.
No, here's my thing: is I'm saying now that we know how the Alvarez.
I know what you're saying.
I still would. I think you would stop him from doing it, or at least tell him put somebody else in or anything else.
Maybe I'd say give him one more.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know now, but my point is, at the time that I didn't disagree with it as much either. When we did our post, I did the final fighting final with Matty B that night. I said no, I'm not mad at him for doing that. I said the hindsight fine, and I also said. That's what he's been doing this whole time, and for the most part, it's worked. It didn't work out. I mean, it's hard for any pitcher. I don't care if you're lights out or not. Come in when you got corners, guys on the corner, and try to get through. Now, did anybody expect like this monstrous 400?
No, not at all. Dude, that was like the deepest part of the field too. I mean, my God, and like such a little tiny window to fit a ball.
They said like the guy who bought the ticket had like a 0.00001% chance of getting a home run ball, and now he has like one of the most like prized possessions in Houston Astros history.
Why couldn't Sosa's ball have gone that far or a little bit to the left? I mean, come on.
Call it puck luck or baseball luck or ball luck. I mean, there was a couple times you can go back through the last couple of games. Yeah, the Sosa hit that was just 30 feet one way or the other.
Yeah,
different game. It would have been the 3-run.
I mean, that center fielder couldn't have backed up anymore. Like he was sitting there like that ball just got placed to him in the perfect spot.
The last game in Philadelphia with McCormick's big playoff at JT, that ball is off the wall 99%
no doubt,
of the time. That play is not made.
Yeah,
9 times out of 10. So I mean, things did definitely go their way at times.
He's a hometown hero for a hometown that doesn't even want anything to do with him.
Yeah. Burn your house down. Hometown. No, but I mean, it is what it is, and the season's over, and I look forward to Hot Stove Talks, as we always do, and we'll be looking forward to see if they bring in a big name like Trey Turner.
They got money, man.
They have money. I mean, what do you think Trey Turner goes for?
He's going to go for a lot.
I mean, he's what, 30?
Yeah, 29. I think he'll be 30. They'll definitely be 30 by next season. I think he's going to go for some type of. I think he's going to go like basically what we gave JT, 24, 25, 26 mil a season. Mm-hmm. I can see him sign. It just seems like they're giving out 4-year contracts. So if they're going to give him $100 million for 4 years, do it.
All right. So it looks like on the line here, guys, like we said earlier, we're going to have a great guest, and that great guest is here. Austin Krell. Austin, are you there?
I am.
Hey, Austin, thanks for joining us for tonight. Austin is part of the crew here at EOP and the Painted Lines, also an NBA reporter. And Austin, we said one of the big reasons, and we make the joke, but it is kind of true for me and Joe especially, is, we've been so busy here at EOP and the Painted Lines with the Phillies in the World Series that, I'll be honest with you, the Sixers have taken a little bit of a backseat. I've watched some of the games played, but I can honestly say I have not sat and watched a whole game through and caught more of the highlights at the end. So we bring you in to help us out and make some sense of this struggling start for the Sixers. We'll call it that for right now.
You
Go ahead, buddy.
You haven't missed much yet.
So my question is, a lot of the fight has, the argument has been, is Doc Rivers already on the hot seat, and do you put the blame all on Doc Rivers, or is this a total team current failure?
I think yes, he's on the hot seat because this team had high expectations coming in. They're 5-6. I also think, realistically, if we look around the entire NBA, like a lot of teams that were supposed to be very good have had bad starts or slow starts. So maybe it's just a weird thing this year in the league. Maybe some of the teams that are supposed to be bad are better, and they kind of update some of the better teams, and giving them some early losses. Things will probably even out as they usually do, but it has been a slow start, not just for them, but for a lot of the teams that were supposed to be good. I think what it comes down to is I think by and large from the players, because it's an effort thing. It's getting back and transition defense was a big issue the first week or two of the season, and I think they've gotten better in recent games once they realized, like, okay, this is kind of a problem for us. But I think there are a couple of things like that Doc has done that has hurt them. Like just for example, other night he puts Paul Reed in with Montrezl Harrell in the Knicks game, and it was not an advisable move then, and then it ultimately burned them on the next possession when they when they gave up a 3 to Obi Toppin to the Knicks, and that kind of gave the Knicks the lead, and they had been up 10 in that quarter, and they were down 1 with like over a minute to go. So they blew a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter in that game, and then there were some other things where in the second half their offense has looked pretty terrible at times. So I think that is something that you can say, why isn't the coach providing and implementing some structure there instead of just going with James Harden dribbling the air out of the ball and Joel trying to face up, post up, whatnot. But I think just the main culprits of their early struggles have been transition defense. That was a big reason why they jumped out to a 1-4 start, and I think that's on the players as much as anything.
So with Doc being on the hot seat, with what we saw with the Phillies, with Joe Girardi getting fired and Topper taking off, and the success, the World Series success, do you think Josh Harris or whoever in the top brass who would make a final decision on Doc, do you think they kind of look at that as an example with Sam Cassell, sitting right behind Doc, that it could be them, pulling the hook on Doc sooner than later if things continue the way they are?
So people have been. I think the worst thing for Doc was probably being in the same market where you fired Joe Girardi and then Rob Thompson takes over and they immediately get to the World Series. So that put it in everybody's mind that, okay, you're a coach away from being in a championship series, which most cases is not true. I do think that it's all relative to what the team's expectations were they had set for themselves, and if they get to 20 games in or whatever, and it's not that they're underperforming that, then it's time to assess. And if the players, the messages are falling on deaf ears in the locker room, another reason to assess. But I don't think it's the same situation. I think every situation is different in that regard. And I think it requires everybody to be accountable. Doc has some accountability that he needs to take, but also the players have to not complain about every non-call, and they have to get back in transition instead of just jogging back at half speed. But yeah, I also don't think it's a given that it would be Sam Cassell. I think a lot of people assume that. Doc missed a handful of games last season with I think he had COVID, and in those games, Dan Burke, the defensive coordinator, was the head coach, not Sam Cassell. So I'm not even sure that it would be Sam Cassell. So that's another thing to consider.
That's interesting. I didn't even think about that. So let's talk about the bench and this rocky start that the bench had, because that was one of the big they really upgraded their bench, because we always said the problem is, the starting five the years prior, head and shoulders above a lot of other teams. But when you went to the bench, it dropped off significantly. And then you would see Doc put in this total bench, except maybe one guy, shift in there, if you want to, quote a hockey term. My question to you is, why is this bench? Is it just not having time to gel? And specifically Harrell, I mean, here's a guy who was brought in to score. He's averaging 4 points a game, and he's shooting 50%, which is a career low. So, what do you have on that?
So, I think we have to remember that most teams that have very, very good benches have players that either seamlessly fit a free-flowing offensive system, a la the Warriors, a la the Spurs. Then other teams that have great benches have one guy on that bench that is a candidate for sixth man of the year that's going to give them at least 15 points every night. And so, a lot of teams don't have that. And when you don't have that, it becomes on your top 2 to 3 guys that are in your starting lineup to stagger with the bench and, help create open shots for them. And I think right now they're, the additions they made, I mean, D'Anthony Melton is a nice, athletic, dynamic player. He's definitely not a shot creator. And, Daniel House, definitely not a shot creator. And PJ Tucker, also not a shot creator. Montrezl Harrell is really the only guy on the floor who can create anything for himself, because he's just a brute, physical big. And right now he is shooting it's 53% of the rim, which is actually in the bottom, 5% of all NBA centers. So that's pretty drastically bad. And so, he's had a rough go. But I think what it is in this first portion of the season is you're just trying to mingle and bring pieces together in the lineup. You're seeing a lot of Harden with Embiid and Maxey with this guy, and they're just trying to get their three or four best players into a lineup with the bench units and figure out what works. And I think as you kind of cycle through different lineups that might work, you're going to have some ones that are duds. And I think that's what we're seeing sometimes now. George Niang has stepped up late with a couple of nice shooting games. But the crazy thing is, like, really the bench is better, and yet it's still underwhelming. It speaks to how bad it was in years past.
Yeah, you got that right. And it's funny that you actually bring up D'Anthony Melton. It's someone who I wanted to bring up to you. I mean, last draft, trading him for number 23 seemed like a no-brainer. We kind of knew what we were getting with him. Not all of us watched a whole ton of his footage or games or whatever. 3-and-D guy coming in. That's basically what we knew. And we know what we've seen so far. I think he's shown flashes on defense. Of course, I wish that his shot is, a little bit more accurate. What do you think the ceiling is for him? Like, do you think that he potentially could become a top 6 guy?
Yeah, so I think right now the ceiling for him is like a miniature version of Draymond Green. And I think a better, not, I don't mean in the way of like can't shoot, because D'Anthony's actually a really good, catch and shoot guy. But I think just like the way they've used him, in late games when they've gone a little bit smaller, they've used him as a pick and roll guy with Harden, and and then the double comes at Harden, and he's trying to see over the top, and he's D'Anthony's in the middle of the floor, and he's finding him, and then D'Anthony has all the space to make plays out of that. That's very similar to how Draymond Green has operated with Golden State. Is just catching the ball on the roll and then looking around and making quick decisions. And I think he is what I call him is, I think I call him a connective tissue type player, where you have your hub of the offense, and then you have the rest of your offense, which is just the 3 to 4 other guys in the court. Nelson is the guy that's connecting the hub to the rest of the team, and he's receiving the ball from James, or he's cutting off the ball, and he's helping pass it. I mean, I think he's a better passer than even I realized coming in, and that's helped a lot. So will he ever be this a 20 points per game guy on this team. I have a hard time believing it, but I think he has a chance to be certainly one of their 6 most important players.
So you brought up the transition defense, and my question that kind of popped in my head as you were talking about is this is a conversation that's been going on before Doc Rivers. It's not like this is something new. Like, is this like a culture in the locker room, like that they allow Embiid to be a superstar and let him do what he wants, and then you bring other superstars in, and it just seems that it's a constant year in year out, and I don't think a coach is going to make a difference because it hasn't. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think their best, I think the thing that kind of held their transition defense together for years was, Ben Simmons, because he was somebody who, was getting back and was trying to help get stops on the other end. And Joel, if he is not, falling to the ground trying to exaggerate contact to the hopes of a call, he is gingerly jogging back in transition, and he's always been a slow to recover transition defender. And some of that is because when the shot goes up, he is closer to the rim, and his first step back isn't going to be that great because maybe he's trying to get an offensive rebound, maybe he's under the basket trying to score. And when the shot comes off long and everyone else is running, you're just naturally going to be the last guy up the court. But in the past that was Ben Simmons who was helping stabilize that. I think now what it is you don't have Ben Simmons, obviously. You have James Harden, who also likes to try to sell calls, and when he feels contact, he tries to, he just kind of stops playing. The play's over for him. He's looking at the referee, hoping for a foul call, or he's falling to the ground. Tyrese Maxey has picked up that habit as well, where if he doesn't get a call, he's looking at the ref. Tobias Harris does the same thing. I think your 4 best players are guys who do not, their first instinct is not to get back in transition after every miss or every turnover. It's to try to, be like, ref, why didn't I get this call? Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not right, and the end result is ultimately it's hurting the Sixers.
Now, I know we're, just getting into the regular season, 10, 12 games, whatever it is, and here we are, James Harden already out for what they're saying at least a month. We know it's not going to be a month. It could linger on for, multiple months at this point. What are is it me, or is there just a chance James Harden isn't even on this team? I know he has a player option, next season, and I know it's way, way too early to be thinking about this, but just the direction things are going already, and knowing that he's going to be out and missing, I don't know, 20, 25 games, let's just say, what are the chances that he is not even on this roster next season?
Well, I mean, I think 20, 25 games would be the worst case scenario. Like, I think the sentiment is that he should be back within 14 games. Okay. And from there, it'll be what it is. I would expect that I guess the common sentiment is that he took a $14 million discount because he was maybe promised a bigger contract next offseason. So we will see in that regard. I think with Daryl Morey, that Daryl had a lot of his career success because of the chance that he took on James Harden, and I think there's some closeness there. And so I don't think that it's going to be just this year and then over unless it's a colossal failure or unless Joel Embiid says, no, I don't like playing with him. But I definitely, I don't think there's, I'm not sure that there is a long-term concern, or there isn't with this injury, but I don't think that anyone has said 20, 25 games and, this is going to be, a disaster. I think, he hurt his foot playing a lot of minutes, and they're just trying to manage that as best they can because they're not trying, no one is winning championships in November, December. It's what you do in April and May and June.
Sure. And like I've jokingly have said this, like basically the Sixers are thanking God right now that the Eagles are 8-0 and the Phillies just had this World Series run because the attention, the spotlight has not been on them. And it's almost like, could that have hurt them a little bit? And like, this is kind of rhetorical because like, it's like, could it be actually true that they're, kind of like sitting in the back going, well, all eyes aren't on us. So, let's just mail it in a little bit. And I know it's probably really ignorant to say because I'm sure that's not the case at all. But I mean, it's hard for me not to think that there's just a little bit of truth to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they're being honest with themselves, they probably feel like, all the attention is on the football team. The Phillies are in the not only the playoffs for the first time in 11 years, but are in the World Series, and it was unexpected. So the general sentiment is very positive, and the fans are happy. I guess that that kind of gave them a little bit of a cushion to sort of not be so locked in on every night, and it bit them in the butt to start. And I think Joel, I think when the other night he says our season starts tonight, and the Phillies reflect our season. I think in some respects that's probably the way that he and the team feel is like in the past, in their experience, once the regular season for baseball is over, it's on to the Eagles and the Sixers, and no other attention is there. And it was always on them, and so there wasn't. They had to be more accountable for themselves, so they were going to hear it in the first week of the season. I mean, I still think like if people the general negative sentiment towards the team probably a little bit over the top right now because only a 5-6 start, and it could be a lot worse. But I do think that they've underwhelmed, and the first 5 games in particular were really, really ugly, and they kind of escaped because people were more concerned about the Phillies who were in the NLCS.
Yeah, and when I saw that quote from the other day where he was saying, "Oh, now our season really starts," I thought it was like a joke meme. Like I could not believe after the fact that I found out that was a real quote from him.
Oh yeah, no, it was a real quote from him. And he was being funny. He was being himself. I mean, I think as much as he likes to say that he doesn't go online, he's extremely online, and he's aware of what everyone says. And I think many of the people online on Twitter, especially, they kind of joke that Joel is, or that the first win. Every win is when the season starts, and that only the wins count, and the losses. There's always an excuse for losses. And Joel, that was his way of sort of making a similar joke, like, "Hey, now that the Phillies are over, now we start, and we win tonight. I was awesome tonight. Now it's on."
Yeah, that sounds about right. But one last thing before we let you go, what would you say to the fans right now? If like you had if the Sixers hired you as their PR guy, what would you say to their fans right now who are very doom and gloom, just being 11 games into it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, I guess what I would say is not every loss is the end of the world, and not every win is also they're back, quote unquote. I think it's an 82 game regular season, and you just have to sort of let things play out and follow the trends instead of microanalyzing every single game. And calling for Doc's job every night does not help anything. He certainly doesn't seem to care what the fans think about him and his job status. And so I don't think there's much of a point to that. At the end of the day, if they continue the way that they have, it probably won't be that long. And if they rebound and they turn it around and they end up, reaching new heights, he's going to be here. So one way or another, either going to end very soon, or the future will have more Doc Rivers in it.
All right, man. Guys, you guys, great interview here with Austin Krell. Austin, part of the Painted Lines and EOP family now. You can find him at NBA Krell as well. Right, all his great articles. And, of course, you're on a lot of the shows on the Painted Lines and EOP. What's the next thing you got lined up for us?
Hope to have a story about Tobias Harris out the next couple of days, so that'll be posted soon.
All right,
cool.
Awesome. Once again, Austin, thanks for joining us tonight.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that was Austin Krell, like I said, part of the EOP and Painted Lines family. Kind of bringing some Sixers knowledge to us, and kind of my season starts tonight.
I know. It does.
Well,
I did watch the other night. I did watch the Suns game. I liked it. I know Chris Paul went out early. He had that foot injury, much like they compared it to the James Harden injury. So Monday, I actually did watch the game. I'm locked in on him now, and it's funny because when I was saying about the firing of Doc and Sam Cassell being waiting in the wings, and and Austin saying, well, he was the defensive coordinator who kind of took over as head coach last year when Doc was out with COVID. And that there's going to be people out on social media right now typing like, "You dumbass, you didn't know that it was the defensive coordinator. You thought it was you idiot." Like, people are so quick to just jump on your ass for anything these days.
I actually enjoy it now. I've gotten to a point I've actually started enjoying it.
I go back and forth with it. I don't even care.
And speaking of enjoying, the place to go in Delaware County, and even if you're not from Delaware County, is Dolan's Bar, 24 East Sellers Avenue, right in Ridley Park. It's always a good time there.
Oh, yeah.
And, you might get heckled there, too, but all in good fun. I mean, PJ always puts on a great show. If the World Series, the only thing that can really make that, ending fun, or at least bearable, was the fact that you had former Phillies with you while it was going on. So PJ's always doing an amazing job. Dolan's Bar, you can check them out at dolansbar.com, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or just go to 24 East Sellers Avenue and tell them EOP sent you.
Real quick, sorry, but huge shout out to PJ Dolan, because first off, last week he was out in Houston for the Eagles-Texans game. Then he stayed out there for the World Series Game 6 Saturday night. Then he shows up in New York last night, and he was on Fox News. So this dude is everywhere.
PJ Dolan, man about town.
Yes.
No, if you guys ever met PJ, he's just one of the coolest dudes you'll ever know. And then, of course, PhillySportsTrips.com. So a little update on this one. So I'm going to start putting some X's over the games that they play. But also, you guys want to go to the Giants game? Sold out. So the only way you can get anything for that Giants game, you can still buy the tailgate, but you get your own ticket, your own way there. They sold that out, Joe, but you want to go to the Colts game? Sold out, bud. You can't wait. PhillySportsTrips.com. Right now, the next away Eagles game they have available is Chicago in December.
Windy City
in blistery mid-December.
Yeah.
Only Philly Sports Trips can make that fun.
I hear it's cold out there.
Yeah, I heard a little lake effect or something like that. But no, only PhillySportsTrips.com. Plus, all the home tailgates are available. Plus, they have a lot of other things. They have a Sixers trip already set up. Spring training for the Phillies already set up. Go to PhillySportsTrips.com. Tell them EOP sent you. And, of course, our man, David R. Cherry, CherryInjuryLaw.com. Workers' comp, motor vehicle, personal injury, criminal law. That's right, you scumbags. Criminal law. He's got you covered. CherryInjuryLaw.com, 610-565-0300. And once again, tell Dave we sent you. Joe, so, I mean, the only other thing that's saving the Sixers from thanks. See, look at this is what I'm saying. I told you I'd make a mistake.
That's why you're on the other side, sitting next to me with the schlubs.
That's right.
You're out here. You're slumming it tonight. We
we
got scores back there.
With the poor folk out here. Edge of Philly Sports, like I said, we had Austin on, part of the Painted Lines crew, and we are one big team here. And as you can see from the screen here, there's no lack in content just on live shows alone. That's not including articles, social media posts, all that stuff.
It's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. Just tonight's a short night. Which is, we got to take up a lot of the room here, me and you. But tomorrow night's back at it. Birds IQ looking at this Monday Night Football game. Attacking the third, kind of closing up the Union season and talking a little World Cup too, because that's a big thing coming up for all you soccer nuts out there. And Clear the Ice is back in full force. It wasn't, we had to take our liberties between the Phillies and the Flyers, but no more Phillies, so the Flyers are back. So you got two post games tomorrow. Clear the Ice for the Blue Jackets game with the Flyers, and the Sixers-Hawks game post game will also be on. So other than that, nothing else going on here at EOP.
Yeah. Real quick, shout out to my mom. Today is her birthday.
That's right. Happy birthday, Ma.
My mom calls me up and gives me like these tips. So she thinks I are. Like, she'll call me up. I'll be honest with you. I will be honest with you. She did give me one last week that I did not know about. She called me and she's like, did you know that Brandon Marsh wets his hair before each inning or in between each inning? I was like, no, Mom, I didn't get that. Or I didn't know that. And I honestly didn't know that. And she's like, well, now you can go on your next show and you can tell about how your mom is Mrs. Sports. And she tells me all this stuff. So, all right, Mrs. Sports, happy birthday. I
still love the fact she forgot what your middle name was, though. She can remember that, but she forgot your middle name. Yeah, what's your middle name again?
Yeah, that picture that I posted a couple weeks ago of me in a Philly shirt with like Taz on it. I was like 9-10 years old.
I remember that.
I'm assuming it's my grandmom's birthday. She was blowing out my mom asked me. She goes, "Who was that in that picture with grandmom?" I was like, "It was me." And she was like, "Oh," I'm like, "What? What?"
I love you. I honestly, I don't just say this to you. I love your mom. But the other thing that's saving the Sixers' grace a little bit is an 8-0 Eagles who just look like a train running downhill. And I don't want to, toot, but I will toot a little bit. They are playing well. And my one first question is, and it's kind of the theme that's been going on here, and it's kind of reversed to what the Sixers are. The Eagles are 8-0. Joe, do you believe, not that you believe in this team, but people are like, they're going through who they beat. Okay, they're not good teams.
Right.
Or you didn't beat Minnesota, you beat Kirk Cousins on a primetime game because he falters there. I mean, is there any credence to that, or is it just play who's in front of you?
This is my confusion on it all, because I was under the impression that the Eagles did not set their own schedule. I was under the impression that the NFL did that, and then they get handed to them on a piece of paper, and then they are told what day, what week, what time that they are playing these other teams. Am I going crazy here? Like, do people actually think that the Eagles just like handpick these teams? And it actually came out 2 weeks ago that they have like the 12th easiest schedule in all the league. And, like, the Bills and the Chiefs have easier schedules than that. Where is the backlash for that?
Cowboys don't have a much harder schedule.
No, not at all.
Except with, they're playing. Let's see, I'm trying to remember. Like they have a bunch of easy games coming up, and their hardest game is probably going to be us in front of them.
Yeah.
So nobody's saying.
And let's be honest. Let's be honest. It's in Dallas, and it's on Christmas Eve. The Eagles are probably going to lose that game. I don't care. I'll say it right here. They will probably lose that game.
It's a possibility, but I don't know if I'm smelling myself, if it's just this team. Like, there's no team in this NFL this week. I say that, I feel like I say this every year, but this year, parity upon topsy-turvy teams that are usually perennially good. The Green Bay Packers, they're 3-win team right now. They're playing the Cowboys this coming week. Which, by the way, can I throw this out there?
I really hope. I hope you're going to say something.
With the World Series commercials, the constant Fox
stroking
this matchup.
Yes.
Thank you.
What the hell is that?
It's bullshit because, listen, maybe in the beginning
the
of the
rivalry
year,
of all rivalries has returned. Shut up.
Yeah. From when? When?
Exactly. Bart Starr and Roger Staubach. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't watch every other inning that popped up on your screen.
I know.
It was either a little
I'm
graphic.
so glad you just said that.
I was so annoyed. I'm like, why is this? Like, why is Fox stroking this matchup of all the matchups they have coming up? I mean, here's my thing is, there is a huge dive between elite and good teams.
Right.
Like, give me your top 3 elite teams in the NFL right now.
Well, it's got to be the top 3, the Chiefs, Bills, and Eagles.
Okay, and then what's your next team down?
With Dak back, I will put them in up there.
But do you think
I can be realistic about that. Dallas are a good team.
But they have them ranked number 7, I think, over all the power rankings.
I guess San Fran's up there now.
But San Fran's 4-4.
I know, but it's a little bit different now. They started out with Trey Lance. Now they have Jimmy Garoppolo with last year's playbook, and they have CMC. It's a whole different ballgame over there now.
Well, ultimately, my point is the drop-off is the difference. Like,
sure.
I don't look at any team and say, that team is a team I don't want to see.
First off, has anybody watched the Packers this year and how awful they are? And how much of a backstep that Aaron Rodgers? It's going to be. Dallas is going to blow them out of the water.
Yeah,
like it's not a rivalry. It's Armageddon.
Yeah, I mean, let me ask you a question.
I
know normally, you would say, who do you want to win that game? Would be, of course, the Packers, because you take Dallas. I mean, whoever thought would be 8-0, and we're sitting there with 2 teams behind us with just two losses behind us.
6-2, yeah.
My point is like, is it better that Dallas loses and takes a loss and brings them further down behind us? Hopefully we win. Sure. Or is it better to keep Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay Packers just that bad? Like, give them no hope.
I don't think that they have any hope regardless, because I have no idea who Rodgers is throwing the ball now to, because they had their big guy, Romeo Dowds, their I think 3rd round draft pick, or I'm sorry, Romeo Dobbs, however you want to pronounce it. He left the game early this past weekend. So, and I think Lazard's still out. Randall Cobb, who the hell knows what's going on with Father Time there. And Christian Watson, I believe he's still injured. So I have no idea who he's throwing the ball to. So I think there is going to be no resurgence of Aaron Rodgers this year. If he could pull out a victory against Dallas, by all means, please do.
Yeah, right.
It's not going to happen.
No, I mean, like he said against Buffalo, this is exactly what we need. No, it's not. You need to beat up on a bad team, and you lost to the Lions.
Right.
I mean, when was the last time you heard Green Bay lose to the Lions? I mean, that wasn't like a last game of the season, and they were just resting players.
Don't you go home and call your mommy?
Yeah.
Oh wait.
But people
you don't
still,
talk.
people still want to poo-poo the Eagles. Even Eagles fans. I think Eagles fans are the worst, and Dallas fans are the worst offenders of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh well, they haven't really played a good team yet. Well, who's a good team? Because every time we say that, they play a team and they're not a good team. Okay, Houston's not a good team. Let's just be honest, call it for what it is. But at the time, the Vikings were a good team. We beat them handily. The Jags were at the
Vikings are 7-1.
Yeah.
I mean, how are people not going to say that was a good team?
Because it was prime time.
I don't
it was prime time, Joe.
Dumb.
Kirk Cousins is prime time,
yeah.
Joe.
Everyone's got excuses.
Jaguars were a decent team at the point.
They
had one of the best defenses at the time.
Yeah.
We handled them in muck and rain.
Everyone keeps saying about the Lions game week 1. Well, everyone also says that the first couple of weeks are basically preseason games now. So which one is it? Is it a preseason game, or is it a game that the Eagles pulled out a tough victory in?
Here's my thing, and I say this all the time. I say, I said this earlier. I said, if you look at it, if you went by all the good teams, like people had like really good records, 13-plus win seasons. Even Tom Brady, when he had that magical season but lost in the Super Bowl to the Giants. I mean, they're 2017 Eagles. That magical season, that team would you say the Eagles team was dominant that year?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, outside of Carson Wentz getting hurt, we still dominated.
Do you know the last time the Eagles won the Super Bowl? The Houston Astros won the World Series?
Yes, I am aware of that. My question to you is, like, did every game listen, go to the Denver game. We dominated that year. We destroyed, it was like 50-something to 12.
Yeah.
It was like some giant gashing of them. But then the Giants game in week 2, they had to hit a 60-some yard field. They had to set a team record to hit a field goal to win it. The Carolina game, Cam Newton and the Panthers Thursday night. Eagles are gonna get they're gonna get handed an L big time. No, that's totally wrong. Didn't happen. My point is, not every game's going to be pretty, and at times you're going to have letdown games. I mean, look at Buffalo, and like I'm not putting past the big step the Jets took, but Buffalo should have beat the Jets.
Yeah.
Now maybe they looked past them, and the Jets are a much better team than they thought, and they look past them because they're so used to just walloping them. But it is what it is. But that happens.
I haven't seen any power rankings. I know we bring these up, and they kind of get poo-pooed on as well.
Yeah.
Are the Eagles finally number 1 in the power rankings now that the Bills are 6-2?
This week we've hit number 1. Yes, we are.
So it took a second loss by the Bills, with 0 losses from the Eagles, for the Eagles to jump up to that top spot. Okay.
Yeah,
makes sense.
It is. I mean, listen, I get it. Strength of schedule, who they're playing. I mean, listen. Overall, the Bills, technically, I guess on paper, are a better team, right?
Right, but also the Bills have a better schedule or easier schedule. I mean, so you can't really go strength of schedule when it's already been proven that the Bills have an easier schedule than the Eagles.
Sure, absolutely. But so the 8-0, how important to you, Joe, is this continued perfection?
I think it's very important. I think just for and I'm not going to say 1 loss, 2 losses is going to change the whole morale of the team. That's not what this team is built on. I mean, we bring back 2017. Nobody likes us. We don't care. We are the underdogs. They went out and they won the Super Bowl. So whether they're favorited or underdogged, it doesn't matter. Like, this team is going to go out and they're going to continue to bust their ass out on that green field. And whatever, it truly is for real when you say any given Sunday, especially when you see some of the games that we've seen this season. We go on and say all the time, this is, at least I do, this is one of the shittiest seasons I have ever seen, especially from these teams that are supposed to be quote unquote elite. And then you watch the Jets take a major step up this season and play very well.
Now,
they take off the rival Bills. I mean,
is that the Jets playing better, or is that the weakness of the NFL this
the
year?
Jets each week impress me.
Okay.
They do. I mean, Joe Douglas out there has really put together an up and coming team. I've really liked what they've done so far out there.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, do you feel it's more just how weak the NFL is and makes them look better?
It's possible. It's very possible. The fact that I am saying it's one of the shittiest seasons I've ever seen, yes, that does absolutely play in the favor of the Eagles.
For a team like the Eagles to strike, and maybe
the Steelers aren't usually that bad. division games usually aren't the easiest for us. Right. Well, we haven't played them yet, but I mean, first games are always a struggle for the Eagles. Did it surprise me when they had a tough time against the Lions? No, absolutely not. I remember a handful of seasons ago, I think it was after the Super Bowl season, where the Eagles opened up the season against the Redskins, and they were down like 17-0 at half, and then they had to come back in the second half with Carson Wentz, and they came back and they won.
Yeah, but that's what good teams do.
Right, absolutely.
They don't always win in blowouts, but I mean, there hasn't been. I'm trying to think. Has there been any game except for where they didn't have the lead going into the half of the last game?
No, there hasn't been.
The last game they were tied, right? They weren't losing. They haven't lost.
Right, they haven't trailed in the second half all year.
Yeah, I mean, that's what dominating is. You point out to me one team that you call dominating that just no matter who they went up against, they put 17 plus points up on and never trailed against them and did all this stuff. There's going to have listen. Every set of armor is going to have a kink in it, right? So everybody's going to be perfect. Yes, the run game is still run defense is still suspect, especially with Jordan Davis not being there, and the special teams, that could let up in a close game. I mean, even the Cardinals game. The Cardinals aren't a good team, and it came down to them.
Forgot about that one.
Came down to the guy pooch kicking something for us to win, but a win is a win. And that's what ultimately gets you in the playoffs. Ultimately gets you a first place spot and maybe a bye week 1 in the playoffs. But
they're going to get it.
Going through this, I just mentioned Jordan Davis.
Hargrave had a great game last week.
Had a great game, but it does show you still got a bad team with not a good O-line. And also on top of it, Jordan Mailata struggled a lot. Now maybe he's got a little hangover from his injury. Sure. Let up 2 sacks last week. Do you think that's anything to worry about, or is it just a return game?
I do think that the short week, really plays a toll on them.
Especially the better team, I think.
Right. And I get it because Houston also had a short week, so I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket. But I do think, I don't know if there's just a little bit of added pressure on their shoulders because they are undefeated, and it was a short week, and they were on the road. And to be honest with you, the Texans, we don't know the team we're getting. Like they're a team that's so bad that they're experimenting with things. Yeah. They could be running and doing things that the Eagles didn't even have on tape going into the week. You know what I mean? So again, any other Sunday, Monday, Thursday, whatever have it, not all games are going to be perfect.
No.
But the Eagles have shown that they make the needed adjustments. And I shouldn't say the Eagles. I should say that the coaching staff make the needed adjustments. And they go in each week prepared with, in my opinion, each type of scenario. It's like, okay, if we go out and this is the result at this time, we're going to switch to this. And I just feel like they always have the correct answer when they see a weakness on the field.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, the one thing is you kind of pointed out there is they can make changes on the fly. Some of the best coaches, Andy Reid, still couldn't make changes on the fly for forever. Still, for all I know, doesn't do it well at all. Some guys are stuck in their ways. Dougie P. I mean, that's one. If I'm going to one slap against Doug P. was he had an idea and he was going to run it no matter what happened.
Right.
But these guys, I mean, just the fact that I bring back that Sirianni was able to say, you know what? Nope, can't do the play calling. I gave gave the old college try. Here you go,
huge.
Shane Steichen.
I know it was last season, but still, that's huge.
And maybe him being a young coach like that, and look how Shane Steichen's done so far now, and it allows, I think once again, it's smart because you have to be able to say, I can't do all, and I'm going to fail other parts of the team because of this. He's a head coach. He's a supervisor. You're supposed to look over everything.
Right.
So if Jonathan Gannon's not doing his job, he's got to get on his case. If special teams is doing, what do we got to do to fix this? Get these guys going. What do we have to do to fix this? I mean, he's doing a good job, and you can't complain. And I mean, the one thing about success, we'll worry about this, of course, after the season's over. But this team could look completely different next year. There's a lot of guys on one-year contracts. A lot of coaches who most likely will be gone if they continue with the success that they have. I mean, Jonathan Gannon did not have a good year, yet somehow is still getting interviews.
I know.
So obviously,
the only thing that makes me comforted about that is if he does end up leaving because we had this spectacular, season. Like Vic Fangio is right there waiting in the wings, and I'm okay with it.
I'm all right with that. And then
let me mention something else. Since when does a team basically get 2 byes twice in 4 weeks?
Yeah.
I mean, the Eagles had a bye. They come out to play the Steelers. 3 days later, they play the Texans. Now they're off for 12 more games. We don't even have a game on Sunday this coming week.
Yeah.
We have to wait for Monday night again.
Absolutely.
Christ.
And as you know, here at EOP in the Painted Lines, you will see pre, half, and post game. Joe actually, because of the way the rain knocked everything back with the Phillies game, and because they were supposed to be off on Thursday, so you could watch the Eagles game. We did the Fight and Final post game that day, and you and Fred did an amazing job picking up a nice morning shift.
Yeah, that was fun, man.
I would love to get more morning stuff here
at
EOP. But something came out during Lane Johnson was somewhere. He was having conversation with people, talking about. I know you're talking about, but this kind of gives some credence to the conversation we had last time we were in the studio together. He was just talking. He was talking about mental illness and anxiety and depression and all that stuff. Real things and all that. And he kind of gave a timeline that I guess we all kind of felt, but he said,
sure.
Got a couple more years left in me, but that's about it. I'm not gonna, sit there and try to force myself at 40 years old almost to keep playing and not play well. I think he's taking a shot at somebody when he said that. But I mean,
rightfully so too.
Yeah, I know. But what we said earlier is, watching one other team that you're watching that hopes to continue to tank is the Saints. And they're playing the Raiders, I think, this week. And I that's another bad team.
Well, Josh McDaniels just lost his job, so they don't even have a head coach right now.
Did he?
He lost it today.
Oh, was it today?
Yeah.
Somebody was asking me, "You think he loses his job?" I said probably, but I didn't know when.
Unless it was like a fake,
I did not.
Adam
see
Schefter.
That. Yeah,
really?
We'll have to look that up.
Damn, now I gotta look it up.
I know. Well, we all know a former Eagles offensive coordinator, right? He lost his job.
Yeah.
With the Colts, he's a winning coach. He had a winning record, but lost his job. I think the fact that they brought in Saturday just shows them that this team.
Yeah, I'm seeing it. They got me again.
Yeah, they goddamn Twitter.
They got me again.
But they bring in Saturday, former Colt, which I think this is that.
Yeah.
I really think this is like,
what
all
the
right,
hell?
This is them saying we're tanking. I think that's why they fired, because he wasn't going to tank. He was going to try to win.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, we want to tank. Nope, I want to win. Then you're fired. And I think that's ultimately what happened with Frank Reich. I don't think he lost his job just because of the bad outcome they had so far. But then again, he did go to bat for two quarterbacks that have blown up in his face. But I thought Jerry Jones was a tough owner. But
he's a jerk.
But this guy, what's his name? The Colts.
I don't.
Urso, right?
Yeah.
Ursic. He seems a little nutty as well too.
Well, he's got to be when he is the owner of a team and he comes out with Carson Wentz. He's like, I never liked the guy. He was fun. We had to get him out of here. We didn't, how's he just going to come out and just throw his quarterback just completely under the bus?
Because he's a nut.
That's what I mean. Like, and you got to screw loose if you're doing that.
And we always like to try to add a separate conversation in, a little less sports for a moment. Mm-hmm. But this is kind of sports related because we're talking about little crazy owners. One of the craziest ones, which I think we all want him to stay in town, but he's not going to be, is Dan Snyder.
Yeah.
They're kind of forcing him to get out.
Was that announcement today or is it tomorrow?
What?
The announcement. I saw someone on Twitter. Maybe I'm being duped by Twitter again. It was like major announcement on the future of the Okay, all right, that's what I saw. Yeah,
they're pretty much sold on like either sell the team or we're going to sell it for you, and you probably get pennies on the dollar at this point.
Sure.
But one of the people who one of the
riddance.
celebrities who raised his hand, which I still don't know if he makes enough money to buy a football team, or maybe it would be a group of them. But one of the celebrities was Matthew McConaughey had interest. Now he could just be saying,
all right.
Could you imagine Matthew McConaughey
with Jay-Z?
Oh my God,
I can see that.
Well, Jay-Z already owns what, the Nets?
If he still owns them, I'm not sure. I know he did.
Okay, does he not?
Or
sure.
A portion of it, yeah.
So Jay-Z, now I think Jay-Z has buy team type money.
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Do you think I just didn't think Matthew McConaughey had that kind
He would be a part of a team, much like how Will Smith was jumped in
like
with
a 1%,
Sixers.
1.5%er.
Yeah.
Because what didn't him and Jada only own like 1.5% a piece?
I think so.
It's like 3% total. I mean, it'd just be funny. Like I told my wife,
I didn't know Jada was in it, but I know he had a very minuscule percentage.
We'll be at every Eagles Washington home game if Matthew McConaughey's up there. It's almost like all the girls around town when Bon Jovi owned the Soul sitting there
We
getting
keep getting new players. They just keep staying shitty.
Hey, that was good. I like that one. Yeah, but no, I just want like, what are your thoughts on like, what are your thoughts on them selling it? Like, this is like kind of setting a precedent.
Well, a part of me is saying, please don't do this because
Yeah,
Dan Snyder has been a godsend when it comes to the dysfunctionality of an organization. Let it be, a division rival or not. I mean, Rivera's got to be down there going, what the hell is going on down here? He's got Carson Wentz, who is probably faking an injury. I don't even believe that he's really hurt. I think they needed a change in guard, and Heineke was there, and they saw a little bit of success.
No, Carson, you're injured. Trust me.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Trust me.
Exactly.
You're injured.
Well, yeah, Dan Snyder being out should be. In fact, Lex's cousin is a Redskins fan, and I was talking to him last week at the World Series, and he was telling me, Dan Snyder needs to get out. Like, this is going to be such a blessing.
I mean,
to
how many
Washington
Cowboys
fans.
fans do we know who would love to see Jerry Jones gone after all these years?
I would hope all of them.
And the funny thing, at least Jerry Jones had somewhat success. Like, they were winning, games and getting maybe to the playoffs. They weren't winning in the playoffs.
Right.
They were falling flat on their face. I don't know what's worse, constantly being a bad team every year for the most part, or falling flat on your face when the time comes. I don't know, but who cares? But my point is, because I just said my wife, I said, she'll be buying Washington season tickets at Matt McConaughey's up in the old owner's box. All right. So let's talk about this matchup, Joe. I didn't take all these notes because I didn't want to talk about the matchup. So Eagles, Commanders, that's the second matchup, the last matchup of the year for them. Of course, we were at the first one in Washington with Philly Sports Trips with Mason Time. This time it is Monday night at the Link. And the rumor possibly Chase Young back with the team and playing.
He'll be on limited snaps. I'm not too worried.
He was
about him.
supposed to start with the Minnesota game, but now it sounds like he's going to be starting with us. I mean, people seem to think that's a big difference. In my eyes, I don't. Joe, your thoughts?
I'm not going to say that Chase Young isn't a good player.
No,
because he is. But when it comes to who he's going to be matched up against, I have look at the pressures that Lane Johnson has given up this season so far. What's it, 1 or 2, if that, at the most?
Yeah.
Chase Young coming back off of injury, I guess he has extended time to get ready for the game, but it's a non-factor to me, really. I mean, we saw what happened with the Commanders and the Eagles week 3 in Washington and down there in DC. Them coming up here to our town, there's nothing, absolutely nothing that makes me think, oh no, Chase Young is back.
No, and my thing is, I think they are a better team than what we were going to play. I think they play behind.
I do think that they're a different team than the one we played in week 3. I absolutely do.
And I think Taylor Heineke gives them a little juice, kind of like Nick Foles did for us back
I do
in the
too.
day.
I think Antonio Gibson has been used more in the past few weeks.
Robinson.
I think who? Oh yeah. I can see Antonio Gibson having a good game. Terry McLaurin, I mean, he's always a threat.
Oh, I don't. But listen, if I'm Riverboat Ron, I'm sitting there. I'm running Robinson and Gibson the whole time. I'm just worrying about them. Just let them pound the ball, because if I'm looking for the Eagles,
who the hell's Robinson?
The running back.
Oh, Brian. Oh, out of Alabama. I'm sorry. Yeah, the one that was shot. I'm sorry.
Yes,
that's right. That's right.
I was like, wait a minute.
Sorry.
Am I calling him?
No. You're right. You're right.
I mean,
I want him to be an Eagle so bad.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is they, above the rushing attempts, they were split pretty evenly, 13 and 11 attempts. One had 44, one had 36. They both averaged about 3.4 yards, 3.3 yards apiece, and neither one of them had a touchdown. But I mean, this is what I mean. If I'm Ron Rivera and I'm looking at the Houston game, I'm like, all right, well, we're gonna be really relying on this, because
everything he watched from that game, we're doing the opposite. Yeah. So don't worry about it.
But I mean, because everybody goes, oh, Heineke does play better, and I'll agree with that. He gives them a little spark, but 53%. He was 20. Yeah, he was 15 for 28. Right. I mean, it's nothing to write home about.
And let's think of it this way: Chase Young may be coming back, but they still have the same offensive line.
Yeah.
And we still have, outside of Jordan Davis, we still have our big pieces of our defensive line. So, I mean, they're going to eat all day once again.
Was Micah Parsons a good player when we played him?
Oh, yeah.
And what did we do?
Shut him down.
Yeah. I mean, he became a non-factor. My thing is, yes, this is a different team. Yes, they are better than what we saw before. So don't look at that game and be like, oh, we're going to definitely reproduce it. I mean, right now, I think the spread in this game is 11.
Okay. Should be.
Would Joe betting this game?
It'll come down a little bit.
But right now at 11, do you take 11?
No, I wouldn't. I want to take 11.
Yeah, that's me too. I mean, I think, listen,
it's still a division game.
It's a division game, the primetime game. So things are going to be amped. Right now, Washington's not totally out of it, but they're here to play spoiler at best. At worst case scenario, maybe also
play 4-4 or 4-5.
It's a good question.
Or even 5-4.
They have everything up here except that.
I know they're right around 500.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Well, they lost to Minnesota the other night, right? Yeah. So, all right, so they're 4 and 5.
That was a close game for them.
It was. It was. They're 4 and 5.
So is that on Minnesota? Or is that on Washington playing a better game?
I think it's probably on Washington playing a better game.
Okay. I mean, the O-line's going to have their work cut out from today.
Yeah.
Or for Monday. I mean, Payne, Holcomb, all these guys are going to be.
We still have our secondary. Nobody's matching up with our secondary.
Well, that's my point, but I'm saying that's where the pressure. I think our O-line can handle it. I'm just hoping Mailata.
CJ is going to get his 6th interception of the game from Heineke.
Yeah.
Heineke's not going to be able to barely see over our defensive line.
He's going to keep. I think,
Heineke's like 5'9".
Heineke had 28 pass attempts. If he has more than 22, I'd be surprised. If he has more than, I actually would be surprised.
They should definitely, absolutely be running the ball more this week. Washington.
Yeah,
that is.
That's what I'm looking at. If I'm whenever time we write our notes, we write our articles. I just pretend to be the opposing coach and it's like, what would I do to slow down the Eagles and
not suck?
Yeah, first part. Yeah, see, here's the thing: is when you play a perfect team, there's a price to perfection. I always say. But there's also a price when you're playing them because you want to be that team and say, hey, we knocked them off.
Of course.
And we took one out of the win column for them.
Yeah.
But on top of it is you have to play a perfect game. And a team like Washington has not been far from perfect.
Right.
Our glaring spots is a little bit in the run defense as well as the special teams. Theirs is their O-line, their quarterback. They have one decent receiver to throw to. We got 2 guys that can lock them down. And then you have a decent defense who, to me, hasn't been bad, but hasn't been great. I mean,
they haven't rolled over and died.
Their points against are still 21.3 points. So it's not great.
Right.
It's not like they're like 8.
Eagles usually average that in the second quarter. So
the Eagles, right now, points against is 16.9. So
it's good, man.
I mean, and the thing is,
that's up there with Jimmy Johnson numbers.
The turnover game is always what we talk about. Who you win the turnovers. That's why the Eagles are so good.
Yeah.
I mean, right now you got a plus 15 takeaway for the Eagles, and were they minus 4 for Washington?
It's
now
odd.
One of them was granted. A lot of that's from Carson Wentz. Don't get me wrong.
Right, of course.
But
it's odd to see a team that excels so much in sacks, pressures, interceptions, and fumbles. That's unheard of to have that much of a complete defense with that type of turnover ratio. It's unfreaking heard of, man.
And a couple things I'm looking at here is Dallas Goedert, man. I mean, I'm not
Dallas
surprised.
Game, man.
I'm not surprised. He's good. Like I
finally hit 100 on the nose.
Yeah, right. That's hilarious. But is it the NFL's change in defensive philosophy that makes the tight end more successful, or is it more the athletic tight end than we used to have?
I think the second part. I think you're seeing more tight ends come out that really are playing as wide receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, Travis Kelce, he doesn't have the prototypical, old school tight end type. He's more of a wide receiver playing tight end. That's how I feel about Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert has a little bit more size than Kelce does, but he is essentially a wide receiver. He is basically our 3rd or 4th wide receiver out there who is not playing at a wide receiver position. I mean, we're seeing different types of wide receivers these days. Who else? Darren Waller, even though he's injured right now, he was a wide receiver turned tight end. I mean, it all has to do with the size of these guys, in my opinion.
And I think the athleticism.
And if they can block on the line.
I mean, look at guys who were like linemen now who used to be tight ends. That doesn't happen anymore. Now you're changing sizable wide receivers into tight ends. So, I mean, it is.
Jordan Mailata, who we thought, hey, give him the ball sometimes as a tight end. He is, your left tackle. Jason Peters, I believe, was a tight end at one point. Yeah.
He was a tight end when he played for Buffalo.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, it is kind of the metamorphosis, like how certain positions change. Like I said with Mailata, I thought maybe they'd bring back the halfback.
Right.
Yeah, I mean the fullback. Like
because he stepped in at left tackle, they were trying to experiment. Where the hell can we put this guy? He's got size and he's got all the athleticism in the world. What can we do for this guy? Where can we put him? And then they line him up on that left side, and it is lights out. And then he got his big payday.
And so Dallas Goedert got his touchdown. A.J. Brown continues to get his. I mean, he was only 4 for 6 attempts, but he still got 60 yards.
Yeah.
And he still got his TD.
By the way, he has surpassed Jalen Reagor in every stat of receiving in his career, in his Eagle career.
I mean, it's not hard to believe.
It's not.
I was going to say, like, I thought you were going to tell me something like,
no, it was
in one game.
It was like a big, like, congratulations, AJ Brown. You have surpassed every single stat of Jalen Hurts' career.
Did you see it? I don't know if it was last week going into Thursday night, where AJ Brown had the same amount of offensive yards as the total offensive.
Get more.
Oh, was it more?
More yards and more touchdowns than the entire receiving corps in Tennessee.
Was it receiving corps or entire offensive yardage?
It might have been the entire offense.
But still, he was producing more with the Eagles than he did with the entire Tennessee team.
I think he actually threw some shade at him too for it.
Oh yeah, listen, you got to know that's on his calendar. That's circled up real big with a little.
Jesus Christ, you want to see a revenge game?
Yeah,
that's a revenge game. But should it be? Should that be an AJ Brown revenge game, regardless of them not paying him?
Yeah.
They did him a favor and traded him. He got paid, and he's playing with his best friend. Is it that much of a revenge game for him?
Even though he came out on the other side smelling like roses, you denied him.
Sure.
You said you're not worth it. I don't care who you are, even if you know you're worth it, and hey, me and Joe get to be my quarterback, and I get to be this amazing wide receiver. I'm happy, sure, but you still turned your nose up to me like I'm not important. Yeah, it's a revenge game in my eyes.
Thank God they did.
And people keep saying the Tennessee game will be like that. They call it a trap game, or the game where the Eagles maybe finally losing.
He will be a top 5 Eagle receiver for the franchise by the time he's done his stint here.
I think in Tennessee he's $150 yards, at least 2 touchdowns. When they play Tennessee, I will call that right now.
Tennessee does have a good defense, though.
I think Tennessee's going to use Derrick Henry. What would you use? The best giant running back against one of the worst. Now, hopefully,
call spade a spade. That's fine.
Hopefully, Jordan Davis is back. We can slow him down a little. That'd be like Godzilla versus Mothra type. I would be setting up like cardboard buildings in front of them and just like slow rolling the film.
You know the scene in Batman Dark Knight Rises where the Steelers like field starts to like crumble.
Yeah,
you see those 2 juggernauts hit, and you're just going to start seeing some of the field crumble.
That's a good point. Now I'm looking at the stats here, and there's somebody like you hear him some weeks, other weeks you don't. Devontae Smith.
Gotta get him going.
2 for 2, 22 yards. Do you think it's a problem, or because they're winning, he's okay with it? Like, he was the premier guy until AJ came in. They look like they're getting along. I'm not saying there's anything going on in the back room, and he's upset. He's going to punch him in the mouth or anything. But do you think it's just they don't need to use him?
Yeah, I think I kind of said this last week in the Friday post game that each week there seems to be a different player who is being showcased. 2 weeks ago was AJ with the 156, I believe it was, 3 touchdowns. Last week it was Goddard. Week 3 it was Devontae Smith with 130 to 150, whatever the hell was it in his score.
Was Miles Sanders too.
Right.
Yeah.
So each week they are, and I'm not saying that they plan it out like this. I think they just roll with the punches and see what the defense is bringing it to you and who has the hot hand that game. I think that it's nothing against Devontae Smith. I think it's just the opportunity's not going his way that game. Now, for whatever reason it may be. I don't think there's like any sour grapes over it.
Yeah.
I think he's perfectly fine with what's going on. But what's funny is like every week that he has a game like this, my cousin Dan, he'll text me and be like, well, why do we have Devontae Smith when we could have just drafted Michael Parsons and had this stud player. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, Parsons is dead to me. I don't care.
First part, AJ Brown was not even a thought process.
Exactly.
Everybody thought he was going to be in Tennessee. Nobody thought that Tennessee was going to go, we're not paying him.
Devontae Smith.
Like, hold on 1 second. Not to cut you off, but what we paid AJ Brown in the current market, it's not a lot.
It's not.
I mean, he's making top tier money, but he's top tier.
Oh, absolutely.
What were they thinking? Like, was he asking for like $75 million a year? Like,
I think he was asking for exactly what we gave him, $25 million.
I just can't admit. Like, is it Tannehill's contract that made him? Like, I'm just still trying to figure out what Tennessee was thinking when they let him go.
There's just a chance. Well, first off, Vabril did not want to let him go. During that draft night when he got traded, he was noticeably pissed off in that war room. Basically, just just giving the Jedi mind trick of F you to everybody. And so he is an elite player, AJ Brown, that is, and his coach knew it. And they wanted him to pay him, but the top brass, for whatever reason, had to stick up their ass. And they're like, we're not giving this guy the money that he deserves, and he flat out, needs to get to stay on this team. And the Eagles, with open arms, said, come on, we'll give you that number 18 and a third, and, we'll give you the 25, and now look what it better than T.O., in my opinion. He's going to go down as a top receiver that this franchise has ever seen. Swole Batman, goddammit.
Well, I mean, better than T.O. If it continues at this rate, I think it's a no-brainer. And if they win the Super Bowl, without a doubt.
I am a bit biased because I've been a big A.J. Brown fan for years.
I know you have.
So the fact that sometimes I just sit back and I still think to myself, like, I can't believe that they have this kid on this team.
Well, don't forget, he's
24 years old.
The three here, do you want James, turn your mic on for a second. You're number 8 there.
Yes, sir.
Because the three
there's no sirs around here.
Yes, bum. Like something like that.
My mic's up, dick.
What do you want? The reason I told him to turn his mic up because the moment that went down, the three of us were all in the same room.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember I was the one kind of feeding you guys the information from Twitter, and I saw it. The first thing that popped through my head at draft night, because and James, you probably wouldn't even notice why I was giggling so much. But when they say A.J. Brown, they traded A.J. Brown for the first round pick, and I'm like, I looked at Joe. I almost I want to cry for Joe because Joe is going to be the happiest guy in the world right now. Like he's not going to believe. Did you not believe me? Because you kind of had this hint in your voice. You're like,
I didn't believe it at first, but Kyle was sitting to my right. And he also checked on his phone. He's like, "Holy shit! Did this really just happen?" Yeah. And I was like, "All right, I got in both ears, both sources, confirmations going on." And it's just, I still can't. 24 years old, and we have AJ Brown this year. I still can't believe it.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
It really is.
It was funny. I was what was it? Who was I watching? Who's the rookie quarterback we just went up against? Not Davis Mills before him.
Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is older than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
No kidding.
I'm not kidding you. Like, I heard that stat somewhere. I don't know if it was on the game.
There's a lot of players out there that are older.
Yeah, but he's a rookie this year.
I know, yeah.
He's this is technically his third year in the league.
Sure.
I mean, it is his third. It's not technically his third year. No, second full year of starter, but it's his third year in the NFL, and he's younger than the guy that just came out of the draft. I mean, that just goes to, and
he's getting paid.
And we talk about oh well, he played for Alabama, and then he went over, and it's Oklahoma, and this, that, and the other. I'm like, did he do that at age 17?
Right.
Like I'm just trying to did he do I'm just trying to figure out where did he actually not play football at a high level? Did he come out of the womb throwing a ball?
No, without
running, right?
Yeah. But all jokes aside, I think he first picked up his first ball at 2 years old.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, how can he not with a football dad or a football coach as a dad?
Sure. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
But we're getting to the end of it here, Joe. Let's talk about this matchup.
Man.
Let's look at the numbers. Give me your prediction. How does this game play out? Give me two things. Final score. Well, give me that the way in. Start with the start of the game. Who's your start of the game on offense? And don't say, and that's not Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I want to go Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a Miles Sanders game.
Okay.
I think he ran the ball really good last Thursday, and because the World Series was on, my eyes was more towards the World Series and the Eagles. But then the next day, I did watch all the highlights. I went through the box score and the totals and everything. And from every time I looked over and I was watching Miles Sanders get these chunk plays of 10, 15, 20 yards, when I saw the final stat for him was 93 yards total, I couldn't believe that he was not over 100. If you would have just asked me a blanket question, how many yards total do you think? Like, not all purpose, whatever, just from scrimmage and running the ball. What do you think you got? I'd be like 120, 130, 93 yards. I think you're going to see a game where Miles Sanders will get over 100. I think he will, if I'm talking about each game being the showcase for a different player, I think this is going to be his game. But, and that's my final answer, Miles Sanders. But knowing what we saw week 3 with Devontae Smith and that Washington secondary, I can see a big game for him as well.
So that's where I was going to go.
I hope I didn't take your answer.
You took my answer.
Sorry.
I was going to go with Devontae Smith as well because he played very well against us where he got his Slim Reaper or Batman, or what they call him?
Slim Reaper Batman, I think.
It was like Slim Batman,
Skinny
or
Batman.
Skinny
Batman. The easiest one, and we couldn't even think of it.
Yeah, right. And like I said, if you were when I look at these stat sheets, if you were to line up each week like this column in receiving right next to each other and just look down the line, it's constantly shifting. It's A.J. Brown one week.
Sure.
It's Dallas Goedert another week. I think this is just Devontae Smith's game because I would say running is not a bad call but they still have a very stout defensive line. And I think they're going to run the ball to set up the passing game. But Chase Young's not going to stop. He might stop Miles Sanders, but he's not going to stop Devontae Smith.
Of course.
He may stop Dallas Goedert, but he's not going to stop Devontae Smith.
Depends on where he lines up.
Yeah, but my point is, ultimately, I think this will be a game where they're going to try to lock down Goddard. They're going to lock down AJ. They're going to try to lock down A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith will be just sitting there sipping tea in the middle of the field.
That's one of the most beautiful things about it is if you try and lock up one guy, the next weapon is available.
Yeah.
If you lock up both guys, the next player up is available.
You want to get stabbed? You want to get shot? You want to get set on fire? Your
Right.
choice. Speaking of, who is your player of the game? Hopefully we didn't steal yours as well.
I was going to say Devontae Smith, but I'll go Dallas Goedert. I think Goddard's going to have a big game. I think this is one of the games that he is due for a big game. Probably 5 or 6 receptions. I said it with Devontae Smith a couple weeks ago, and it turns out I think it was the Jacksonville game. I said maybe 5 or 6 receptions for him, but I think this game could be a Dallas Goedert game.
I mean, it would continue the trend, and like I said, he continues to grow every week, so it's not a bad call. All right, Joe, Monday night, it's late night. I'm getting ready to do the post game. I think, are you joining us on that one? I forget which one.
Probably not. It's a little too late for me with the kids.
That's right. The post game. What is the final score? What are we staring at?
See, this is one of the games where I'm not going to say it's going to be
a bloodbath.
I think it's going to be a little bit contested. But I still think the final is going to be not so much of a backbreaker. Edge of the couch, chewing your nails up. I could see it being 31-20 Eagles.
So you're going to say they're going to hit the 11, but they're not going to go past it.
Yeah.
That's fair. I was going to keep it 10. I was going to say like 28-17. So I had it because I don't see you getting 18. So I was going to say 10 or 11. I still think they keep that 10 spot. I just don't think they get over that 11 because of that matchup. James Scorza, what is your final Wednesday night? I mean, we still have all these days left. I know. Giving final scores on a Wednesday night is tough enough, but for a Monday night game, it's even worse.
Sure, yeah. I think, I don't think it's going to be that close. I think it's going to be probably a little bit towards the end because, the Eagles will be already wrapped up the game. So I got to say my final will be 34-20 Birds.
So you're thinking Gardner Minshew's going to get a little playing time at the end just to give him half a fourth quarter spell, something like that. The last 5 minutes.
Has 4 touchdowns and he has rested for the next.
What was the game they did that in?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh game,
yeah. So Gardner Minshew going to get a little play time just with no injuries, just because.
Yeah, I mean, really, how beautiful is that you have a game such in hand, knowing that you have a short week, a Thursday night game, that you can bench your starters and give them the fourth quarter of rest. I mean, that's just the type of season this Eagles team's having right now. Unreal.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap this up tonight, guys.
I want to say one thing to James. Heck of a job with the Kevin Stocker interview,
Thank
man.
You,
yeah. Really great job. Awesome.
Yeah, we were talking about that beforehand. Great job. If you haven't missed it, if you missed it, you can go to any of our social media, go to our YouTube, or you can go to the Phillies page on EOPsports.com. It's up there as well.
Awesome.
Yes, great job as well. So, guys, this show, as well as all the other stuff here at Edge of Philly Sports, is brought to you by our great sponsors. Let's start with Dolan's Bar, 24 East Sellers Avenue, right here in Ridley Park. So right here, right there, because we're not there anymore.
We're not there.
We're not there anymore. They kicked us out.
The bad boys of Philly Sports.
Yeah, right. 24 East Sellers Avenue, Ridley Park. Like Joe said earlier, PJ Dolan, man about town. He's in Houston. He's in New York. He's on Fox News. Who would have thought? Local bar owner, and outside of like some crazy like interview.
I don't think it was his. I think he was on Fox News like 2 weeks ago too.
He was on a panel. They kept going back to like every hour or something, like or whatever. But 24 East Sellers Avenue. You never know what's going to happen over there, but I'll tell you what, it will be awesome. So check it out, Dolan's Bar, and don't forget, guys, PhillySportsTrips.com. I said to you guys earlier, don't miss out because you're missing out already. The only way you can get to the New York or Indianapolis game at this point, the New York or Indianapolis game at this point is you can join the tailgate. You have to have your own ticket, your own way there. The packages are sold the hell out because Philly Sports Trips is the premier place. They were just in LA for the Union Championship game. They throw things together like that. They were in Houston for a World Series game 1. Game 1. Like I said, they have Sixers trips. They will have they had a Flyers trip, and they have spring training already set up. So there'll be plenty more to come out. PhillySportsTrips.com. Don't forget the local tailgates are available. You can't beat the price. And don't forget David R. Cherry, the Cherry Firm, 610-565-0300. Workers' comp, motor vehicle, personal injury, criminal law, cherryinjurylaw.com. Check them out, 610-565-0300. So once again, don't forget the amazing lineup here. I'm not going to read through this whole thing, but there is plenty going on tomorrow night. There's I'm looking at least 4 to 5 hours of wall-to-wall sports from post-game. So that's the beauty of what we try to do. We know that it's difficult to catch every game, and especially, Flyers and Sixers and Phillies, because there's a lot of games that go in the year. So you can come in if you miss part of it, get the post-game show, get all the action that you need, and all the spite that might come with it, because if they don't win, you know how we get here. But it is an amazing job here at DOP and Paint a Line. I'm having a great time. Great people, especially you, James. Great job tonight, as always. You'll be seeing him behind the glass more and more as time goes on. But guys, we can play the music because I want to thank. I'm Big Al.
And the Flyers are in first place, and I'm Joey Shue.
We didn't even get a chance to talk about the Flyers, and he is James Scorza. All right, guys, we are out of here.